What's up, guys? It's ThatSamoanGuy again, and I just got back from seeing Jupiter Ascending, the latest film from the Wachowski brothers. The latest film from the Wachowskis. Sorry. I'm still not quite used to that. Now, if that name rings a bell, it's because these are the people that brought us the Matrix movies, V for Vendetta, and more recently the Cloud Atlas movie. So, yeah, it raises your expectation to a certain kind of movie, and having just seen it, all I gotta say is that's a fucking Disney movie. Now, hey, don't get me wrong. I love Disney princess fairy tales as much as the next guy. I love Disney princess fairy tales as much as the next girl. I love Disney princess fairy tales as much as anyone else, but it's just not really what you expect when you see the trailers promoting. The whole thing has this kind of Pirates of the Caribbean feel to it. I had to keep reminding myself that this is not based on some best-selling young adult novel, because really that's how it feels. I'm going to try and break the plot down as easily as I can, but Mila Kunis plays a young lady named Jupiter, born under very precocious circumstances, who comes to find out that she's actually inherited the Earth. She is the basic scientific version of reincarnation of a Space Queen. But with such a large inheritance, there's a lot of people looking to knock her out of the royal lining and inherit in the same way what she's owed, her lineage. Which is where Channing Tatum steps in. He plays a space werewolf wearing rocket boots who's meant to get her from Earth up to a safe place where she can go through the space IRS and fill out the proper forms to officially inherit the Earth. Jupiter herself is a little cautious about it all, but the bees all bow before her, and that pretty much confirms that she's royalty. 'Cause bees. Sean Bean shows up and doesn't die. Once the space werewolf with the rocket boots gets the bee princess backed up into space, the three villains all kind of converge on her to try and manipulate their way into inheriting the Earth, because the Earth has a particular resource that they're all after. It's kind of ridiculous. No joke, I went up to go to the bathroom right after he rescues her from being tricked into giving up her lineage, and then I came back from the bathroom and he was rescuing her from a different villain that was doing the exact same plot, the exact same thing. He was just tricking her into signing over the Earth to him. And I didn't have to pee that bad. I was in and out of there pretty quickly, like 3, maybe 4 minutes. It took longer to walk back and forth than it did to actually release. The first villain actually is their sister, who probably does the least of any of the three of them. She doesn't really try to sway her one way or the other. The second villain is basically Titus from Final Fantasy. He looks and sounds a lot like him. Only difference is that he's an arrogant, pompous playboy who talks like this a lot of the time. Anyway, this third villain, who is the main, I think because he's the oldest, is actually played by Eddie Redmayne, something like that. He's actually a really popular topic right now. He's being nominated for his performance in The Theory of Everything, where he plays Stephen Hawking in a movie about Stephen Hawking's life. But while the other actors have absolutely nothing to work with and they just play their roles completely straight, he plays his role in the most frustrating way I could possibly think of, because I can't understand a fucking thing that he's saying in the entire movie. He whispers absolutely everything. When the movie starts off, he's a lot older, so I kind of just figured he was like old and sickly. But then we jump forward 20 minutes later and we get to like his current age, like, you know, where he's gonna be at for the rest of the movie, and he talks the exact same way. He talks like he has like strep throat or something. And what made it even more aggravating is when he would be giving what I assume were important orders to his minions, his other characters, and they would just say, "Yes, sir," and they would walk away. Like they just totally understood what he said, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, how do you work for a guy like that? Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm Marcus, the new intern. I was just getting lunch for everybody. I was wanting to know if there's anything that I could possibly get you. Yes. Okay, so I've got a cold cut combo on Italian, double meat, all veggies, hold the onion, mayonnaise, mustard, salt, oil, and vinegar. Perfect. I'll be right back. If you want to talk about the action sequences, I didn't get motion sickness from it. Again, considering that this is coming from the Wachowskis, guys that did stuff like this, and this, it's even more disappointing when Jupiter Ascending, because the way the action is filmed, it feels like the choreographer just threw the camera into the tumble dryer and hit record. You can't make heads or tails of anything, especially since a lot of the action is space battle. They're dogfights. Like, Channing Tatum takes one of the enemy alien ships and uses it against them, but because it looks just like all the others, there's no way of distinguishing his from the others. So you can't tell who's getting shot, who's making it out okay, who's in what location, because everything literally looks the same. There's a scene where him and Sean Bean have a dogfight in space, and they're trying to get through these things called warhammers, which are never explained, unless Whisper Lips explained it later and I just didn't get it. But again, because their ships are identical, I did not know who was in trouble or who was getting hit or what was going on. And it also didn't help that the Warhammer things were the exact same color as the ships they were flying in. So it's very basic stuff, but it makes all the difference, because I can't get emotionally involved if I can't tell what's happening. We're approaching Transformers level of action choreography. And if you feel like I'm bashing on Disney in general by making the illusions, I'm really not. The movie actually alliterates to Disney films several times. They flat out call Mila Kunis' character Cinderella because she's scrubbing toilets, and then later when they describe like how she's concerned about Channing Tatum's character, who, I remind you, is a space werewolf, one of the guys looks at her and goes, "Ah, Beauty and her Beast." And I was just like, if you make one more Disney reference, I'm gonna throw up my popcorn bucket right now. It just, in general, just feels very safe. It all feels like a very dumbed down effort at what we're used to getting from the Wachowskis. We're used to them having some kind of poignant thesis or some kind of an overall message or theme to their movies. Just off the top of my head, they introduced this concept that us being lower species, we fight over land and oil and minerals and things like that, whereas higher evolved beings, commodity that they fight over is time. That to them is a much more, there's like an age reversing product that they all fight over. That's an interesting idea that I'd be looking to exploring, but they don't really do a whole lot with it. So there's little nuggets here and there of the Wachowskis we're used to shine through, but you gotta sift through a lot of generic Hollywood, cookie cutter, fairy tale cliches that frankly are just okay. For all the mediocre bits and pieces, it never adds up to something higher than just mediocre. If you do end up sitting down and watching this, whether it's in theater, which I don't really recommend, or if it's just at home or at a discount theater, which is probably more worth your time, you should probably get out of the mindset that this is going to be V for Vendetta or The Matrix or the last movie that they did, Atlas. It's less those and more Speed Racer. That's probably the mentality that you should have. And as long as you go in expecting that, fine. That, you know, there's, again, it doesn't do anything aggressively bad. It just, at the same time, you expect a certain, I would have even appreciated it being an outlandishly bad movie so you could kind of laugh at it, but it didn't have much more substance than the popcorn I was eating. So, yeah, that's Jupiter Ascending, I guess. Even if you have time to sit down and watch it at home, there's probably better things you could be doing with your time, like laundry, or dusting off the bookshelves, making more space on the bookshelves, you know, for new books in case you want to cycle through them. You could start some storage in your garage, maybe clear up some more space. Balancing your checkbook, you know, that thing's not going to take care of itself. It's something that gets overlooked a lot of the time, but it's something you should probably